Okay, so I have been talking for 10 minutes and I didn't realize I wasn't live. So let's start over again. Um, Today, my goal is to talk about helping you come up with some systems so that you can organize and stay on top of your task. And specifically, we're going to be talking about Trello and how that's one tool that you can use to manage your task. Now, before I get started in talking about that, I just want to give you a little caveat that this is not a Trello 101 training. Um, I'll be doing that in the future, but I will jump into Trello and just show you some ideas of how you could use Trello to help you manage all of your tasks. What I like to let people know is as they're building their business, as they're growing their business, there's three important things that you want to make sure that you create some systems around and create processes around. And basically, the first one is your task management. How are you managing all of those tasks? So, I mean, we all love paper, we all love sticky notes. You know, my desk has sticky notes all over it. There's something very satisfying about writing something down, and then when you complete it, check it off, throw it away, whatever. But if you want to be consistent and you want to make sure that you're fulfilling the tasks that you've outlined for your workflow, you need an organized way of managing that. So, Trello is a great tool to do that. There's lots of other tools also. Asana is another tool. And I have to tell you that I prefer Asana over Trello. Trello does have some features that Asana doesn't. So there's room for both in your productivity toolkit. But today we're just going to focus on Trello and how it can help your business. So before I jump in and just show you a few examples, I want to just talk about the difference between a task and a project. A project has an end date, has a goal that you're hitting. So somebody might be getting married and they're planning their wedding. So there's all these steps leading up to it. And then there's the finale. They have the wedding and maybe follow-up items, and then they're done with that. You might be working on creating another online course. So that's a project. It's a meaty, there's lots of steps, lots of tasks involved with it. And there's an end date or a goal that you're reaching. So if you're creating an online course, the goal is when you get to a certain point, that course is going to be live, you're going to enroll your students, and you're going to move forward. A sub project after that is 6 months down the road after you launch that course, you may want to revamp it. That would become a second project. So projects usually are larger in scope, but they have an end date. That's the main thing to think about, is that end date and kind of a tangible result of what you're going to do. Now your task, it could be something, a repeating task, or it could be maybe a bigger task that you need to break into some subtask. But it's not like a project where it has a long life. And a task could be as simple as calling a potential client. Maybe you have that down for a to do tomorrow. You're going to call that client. So that would be a task, of course. So what structure, what foundation do you have built around your tasks so that your ongoing list doesn't get longer and longer, and then you start losing those important tasks? Or maybe you think of a task that I need to do this, but I don't need to do it today or tomorrow, but I do need to get this done next week. So as we jump into Trello, I'll just show you different ways that you can manage those tasks. Okay. So before I jump in, let me just see if there's anything else I want to tell you about that. I think that's it. So again, the key is a task, are all of those jobs that you have to do. And Trello, it's a great tool to use to help you organize not just your task only, but also your workflow. So let me bring over Trello here and make sure that you can see it. Let me share my screen here. Okay. Just going to shrink this down so we can see it a full screen here. So Trello is a free product. They do have a paid version, but most people, Trello, the free version works fine for them. They don't have any issues with that. Okay, so I'm going to just open up this little Trello board here, get all this stuff out of the way so you can see everything. And can I move this down out of the way? Okay, so if you've never been in Trello, how I like to explain it is that Trello it's like a bulletin board, and you want to organize it by project or type of content, so to speak. So if you think about your house, for instance, in your kitchen, you would have certain things in your kitchen that you wouldn't necessarily have in your bedroom or your living room or anything like that. So when you create boards within Trello, they're themed related. Okay, so this board that we're looking at here and all of the little fancy stuff, you can still do it with the free version. You can make the background pretty, you can upload these pictures, but here within this board, and I'm just calling it for the sake of this demonstration your task board, you create cards. And so cards are, if you think of like a chapter in a book, so to speak. So each card has like a sub theme, and then within that you have individual tasks. And so this is set up in what they call the Kanban format. So that actually came from the factory industry. So basically, as work progressed down the line, then you just move it down the line. So so let's just take a look here. So as you start planning your task for the day, the week, the month, the quarter, and so forth, you might have a section here that just talks about your goals. So you might create quarterly goals, monthly, weekly, and so forth. And then as you think of new task, you would just click on that, and maybe this is task 10. You can click on it, you can add the details, you can add labels, you can connect it, you can assign it to people, or at least connect them with it so that they know that they should be watching it, so forth. Anyway, you just create all of these tasks. So every time you have an idea of something that you need to do, you just jump on it, and you could create those little tasks. And then what you do is then you can move the tasks. So here I've just created a section called Today, In Process, This Week, and Future. So if you're like me, you know, you're driving through, getting your coffee or whatever, taking a walk, and you've got a great idea. So you add a task card here, and then once you get back and you want to add more detail, you just open it up and add the detail. And then from there, you just add it to whatever board makes sense. So maybe here's a task here. We do want to accomplish it this week, but I don't need to focus on it for today. So it's not on my plate, but it's in this section here every day when I first get started. I'll look and just kind of quickly review what I have going on for this week. If I'm working on something that maybe takes a little longer, so maybe I'm doing some research for my next blog article or next LinkedIn article or something. I might have that task here and I'm researching it, or maybe I'm waiting to hear back from somebody to get more details. So that just lets me know if I've got 2 or 3 things that I'm working on and it's kind of in hold. And then here we have future. So if it's something as I'm looking at this week and I say, you know what, I don't even need to deal with it this week, I'm just going to add it to my future. Now you could get as granular as you want. I mean, you could make it this week, this month, this quarter to kind of match the goals that you have set up here. Or you could just leave them over here kind of as your resting place. So this is one way that you could manage your tasks. Now, a good rule of thumb, and I'm going to be doing another training video on this at a future date, is you always want to have very few tasks for the day. So, and we're not talking about reading your email and comments in your social media, anything like that. What we're talking about are specific tasks that you want to accomplish. A good rule of thumb, I call it the 3 for today, 1 must do. So in other words, assign yourself 3 tasks for the day. Of those 3, 1 is your must do. And then if you finish and it's been a great productive day and you want to dig into something else, then you can check, see what's in progress, if there's something you could work on or maybe something else for this week. And you just keep working on that. And then you can just add them here. Some people like to create a completed column. When I work with my team members, my VAs, instead of archiving or completing a task, I like to, especially when I'm working with a group, I like to have just a column called completed. So we can see, okay, this is everything that we've done this month. And I mean, it just feels good to be able to say, yes, we've actually accomplished something. So this is just one way that you can manage all of these tasks. I've got some other boards here, so let's see if this is okay. So here's another board to kind of give you some ideas. You could use a Trello board to start planning out your social media. So this would basically be your content creation or your catalog that you're starting to build. So you might come up with 4 or 5 main themes around your business. So for me, I help people with systems, tech tips, organization, productivity, content ideas, things like that. So those would be my main themes. And then there's some other like subcategories also. So is this an educational piece? Am I going to be creating some how-to documentation? Is it an inspirational quote? Am I gathering some testimonials that I'm going to put into a social media post? Things like that. So this is just different kind of categories, subcategories within this. All right. Here's just a little, if I had a team working on Facebook management, some steps that they would need to follow as they admit people into the Facebook group. And then from there, and again, everybody works differently, but if you were planning out content Monday through Thursday, for instance, for this week, or you could do it by month, however you wanted to do it. Once the idea is to just start filling a section here with just all kinds of things. So maybe I'm just going to say idea 1, just going to add another one, idea 2, and so forth. And then you can categorize, again, when you get into it, you can label it depending on what it is. So maybe this is an organizational And then by putting those little labels on, you can quickly see that, oh, okay, this is an organizational, and maybe I want to do that one on Monday. This one, let's see. Let's say that this is a tech. So we'll make this one yellow. And of course, you would be detailed in what you're doing. And maybe my tech is going to be on my Tech Tuesday. So you get the idea. So again, up here it's just reminding me what the categories are, the coloring, and then you just start, every time you get an idea, you just put it here, and then as you're planning out the week or the month, then you just start dropping them in. And then the nice thing is, by using the color coding, you can tell, okay, I'm kind of spreading out the different types of social media that I'm doing. So that's another way that you could do it. Let me hop back over here, and I think it's this one. So these are fictitious clients here. But another way that you can manage your task and your workflow is by creating templates and then just copying those templates. So you might have a client board, and so you get a new client, so you would copy the template, and then you would we already have like assigned task or little milestones for each client. So the system that I came up with this is, we put the client's name and the date that they first came into working with us. So here Betty started 5/10, Mary Sue started 6/1. And then again, different task here that either myself or a VA would fill out of the intake notes, and then each session that I would have with that client, I would just create separate, I would just copy this and create it. So session 5/10, session 5/17, and so forth. And then quickly I would be able to see all my notes, any to-dos that I assign to the client, anything I'm going to follow up on, any milestones that we reach with that client, and so forth. So again, we're just identifying different tasks that you do on a routine basis for each one of your clients, and you could just use Trello and create a board and do that. So let me hop over here and see, created a few here. So this board is basically kind of a template and a workflow board that you could just copy. So basically, if you have a certain process that you use for your social media, and I'm just calling this the template, and then maybe social media planning, calling that a template, and then you could just copy that onto one of the sections here, and then you could just start working off of that. Maybe you have specific tasks for every lead that you get, and again, specific tasks for each of your clients. So this type of board is really good if you do bring on a VA or a team member, because then they can look at this, they can just copy the template, and then they can go to work with it. Now, one thing I will say with Trello that is superior to Asana, Trello allows you to create little checklists. And I don't know, there's just something satisfying about checking off something. So what I've created here is just a simple little template of what to do when you get a new lead. So maybe they sign up for one of your freebies, or they join a webinar, or whatever it is. So notice I have little check boxes here, and then it's just as I complete each one, it will fill out the progression. So the first thing is, once we get a new lead, we send out a welcome email with appropriate links, how to get the download, things like that. maybe 2 days later, we send out a second email. We want to make sure that we give them the link again. Now, a lot of these things can be automated. I actually use a program called Kartra that automates a lot of mine for me. But when you're first starting out, it's good to at least kind of map out what all these steps are. And then sometimes some of the things you might be doing manually, and then gradually start adding the automation to it. So here's a third step. We would be adding that person to our customer relation management system. We might want to tag that person. And so then as you're going through the steps, notice it's showing now we're 50% complete on the workflow of what happens when we initially get that client or get that lead, so to speak. Okay, and so the beautiful thing about this is, again, you could copy this whole thing and then hand this off to somebody and they would know exactly what to do. You could give them as much detail, and then as they're checking it off, then if you ever needed to go back and make sure that something got completed, you can see that it's been done there. Okay, so I do love that about Trello. Asana they don't have those little check boxes yet, so for that reason I do love this. All right, let me see if there's any other boards I was going to show you. Here's a board. Again, if you're working with a team, you might want to, now this isn't necessarily task, but it's just showing you, as we talked about, sometimes you have ideas, sometimes you just have this information floating around. So what do you do with it? So here you could create a board that, for instance, has all of your logins to your social media accounts, all your logins to your funnel systems, your calendaring system, maybe some main links that you use all the time. So maybe you've got 2 or 3 landing pages or freebies or maybe affiliate links. So anything like that either you or a team member, they just need access to, you could put it on a board like this, and then could make it visible to your team, and then everybody would have access to it. And the nice thing too is if something changes, you don't have to email people, you don't have to send out notices, you just update the information, and the next time they come in here, they just see that information and they know that they're good to go. Okay, and I it as far as what I wanted to show you. I don't know if this is that's just another way of managing different tasks, and here this is more bigger projects, but let's say you were going to create quick little courses or webinars or something. Again, you could just create a board for your course creation and then just start adding the tasks there. So that's just a real quick way of giving you some ideas of how you can manage your workflow, how you can manage your task. And again, everybody works differently, but the idea is to come up with a system, define that system, and sometimes it might take you 2 or 3 tries. Maybe one system works well for you and somebody else, they like something else. But Trello is a great tool to use. It's very easy to get started. There's all kinds of like Trello boards out there that people can share, so you could get ideas from other people and start going. So that's all I had for you today. I'm just checking to see if we have any more comments or anything. It doesn't look like it. So again, if you want specific training on any of these tech tools or productivity hacks, let me know. Make sure that you make comments in the Facebook group, and I will see you next time.